The information on this show has been provided by DETV, an independent company not affiliated with Barclays or any of Barclays' affiliates. Barclays makes no claims to the accuracy of the content, nor does it recommend or endorse any products or services that have been mentioned in the program. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or the positions of Barclays. Hi, I'm Danae Wolf. I went from being broke and getting evicted in my 20s to becoming a millionaire in my 30s. And here's the best part. It didn't happen because I got some windfall of cash. It didn't happen because I got a fancy new job. It happened because I started controlling my money and stopped letting it control me. I cracked the code on personal finance, and I'm on a mission to help as many people as possible have the same transformation. The truth is, it's not a lack of money that's keeping you broke, it's a lack of financial education. And that's why I'm doing this show, because I believe financial literacy is a right, not a privilege. So join me to learn how to increase your financial IQ so you can make and keep more money. Welcome to Money Matters. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Money Matters, where we dive into financial education, empowerment, and freedom. I'm your host and financial empowerment coach, Danae Wolf. In each episode of Money Matters, you're going to learn practical and tactical lessons that will show you exactly how to gain financial clarity and confidence so you can increase your bank balance and decrease your stress. Now, in today's episode, we are going to be talking all about escaping debt, but not just any approach. We're going to talk about specifically a smart, financial, and savvy strategies to pay off debt. This way, you're not just out of debt sooner, but you're also saving as much money as possible in the process. We'll walk through a powerful strategy called the avalanche method, and we'll compare it with the popular snowball method. Now, if you're ready to break free from your debt and take back control of your finances, keep watching. So let's start by getting real about debt. Debt can weigh you down, not just financially, but also emotionally. High interest debt in particular can feel like a never-ending cycle, with interest payments just eating into your hard-earned money month after month. If you're only making the minimum payment, it can literally take decades and thousands of dollars in interest and payments before you're truly debt-free. But here's the good news. By approaching debt strategically, you can not only escape it faster, but you can also save yourself a ton of money. So the method we're going to focus on today, the avalanche method, is a smart way to achieve this. So if you're ready, not just to get out of debt, but to do it in a way that's financially smart, grab a pen and let's dive into this strategy. Now, when it comes to paying off your debt, there are two popular methods: the snowball method and the avalanche method. Both work, but they work in very different ways. So let's start with the popular snowball method. With this method, you pay off your smallest debt first, regardless of the interest rate, so that you can get a quick win to celebrate. It's easy to see why people like this approach, because you feel that sense of progress right away. You feel that sense of winning right away. And what a lot of financial gurus have shown is that people like that sense of accomplishment. And it essentially works to get you to stay committed to the cause of paying off your debt. And that's why it's so popular, because people like the thrill of the quick win, and it keeps them motivated to continue paying off their debt. So think about it like this. Let's say you have a credit card that has $1,000 on it and a credit card that has $700 on it. In the snowball method, they would say, pay off the $700 one first, pay off the lower one first, because you are going to achieve a zero balance on that one first. So tackle the smallest one first so that you can feel a sense of accomplishment before you start tackling the bigger debt. But here's the thing. While it might give you some motivation in the short term, it's not the most financially efficient method, because the reality is you might end up paying way more in interest in the long run. On the other hand, we have the avalanche method. This is the smart choice for anyone who is truly serious about saving money on their debt repayment journey. With the avalanche method, you start by paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first, while continuing to make minimum payments on the rest of your debts. This way, you're attacking the most expensive debt first, therefore saving you money on interest over time and helping you become debt-free faster. If your goal is to be financially savvy, the avalanche method is the clear winner. By focusing on the high interest debt first, you're cutting down the amount of money that you're paying to the lender. That means you get to keep more money in your pocket. So let's go back to our example of the $1,000 credit card and the $700 credit card. So if you looked at the snowball method, they are simply going to say, go to the cheapest debt and pay that one first. Now, if we go to the avalanche method, we might find that that $700 credit card has a 5% interest rate, but that $1,000 credit card has an 18% interest rate. So here's how I want you to think about it. When we say one has a lower interest rate and one has a higher one, I want you to think about the interest rate as essentially your fee that you're paying to have that credit card. So in addition to the debt that you owe, you're also paying a fee. So when we look at the avalanche method, we are saying we're going to pay off the one with the highest fee because we've got to pay the balance no matter what, right? We have to pay that credit card debt. But the faster you pay one off, then the fees stop. So you're essentially, when it comes to credit card debt, paying your debt plus those interest fees. If you add up the higher interest fee onto your regular debt, it's costing you way more. So if you are concerned overall about the money that you are spending, you're going to use the avalanche method. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of this avalanche method so that you can make sure you're using it effectively, okay? Because I really believe in this method. So the first thing I want you to do is list all of your debts and their interest rates, okay? You're going to start by listing out each debt of your credit cards, personal loans, student loans, whatever you owe. And next to each debt, I want you to write down the current balance, the minimum monthly payment, and the interest rate. You're going to write all of these down, and then you're going to order your debts by interest rate, okay? Now, I want you to organize these from your highest interest rate to your lowest interest rate. And your top priority will be to pay off the one with the highest interest rate. Now, why are we doing that? Because that's the debt that's costing you the most money every single month. Remember, we talked about how these interest rates are essentially fees, right? You are essentially paying the credit card company to hold this debt for you. And not all fees are created equal. You're going to have ones that cost way more money. Think about it like when you stay at a hotel, right? You might have a nightly fee at each resort that is similar, but then you might have a resort fee. And one of the resort fees might be a lot higher. So now that you have all of your debts written out in a list showing the highest interest rate and working its way down to the lowest, I want you to make sure that each month you are making the minimum payment on all of your debts except for the debt with the highest interest rate. But for the debt with the highest interest rate, okay, the one that is at the top of your list, instead of making the minimum payment, which is what you did for all the other ones, you're instead going to throw as much money as you can at it, okay? You are going to focus all of your extra money on your high interest debt, okay? Every bit of extra money you can spare needs to go toward that top debt, okay? And that top debt is the one with the highest interest rate. The more you can put toward it, the faster you will pay it off, which means the less you'll pay in interest. This is how you literally save money. With the snowball method, you might be having these small victories of paying off a credit card, but if you were to tally up the total amount of money that you spent over the several years it took you to pay off all these credit cards, you're going to find that the snowball method costs you more. Once that top debt is paid off, I want you to celebrate because it is a huge milestone. Unlike the snowball method where we celebrate just for simply paying something off, this time you are celebrating not only that you paid something off, but that you paid off the highest interest rate. So we are celebrating saving money. Once you've done that and you've had your celebration, I then want you to move down to the debt with the next highest interest rate. And you are going to continue to repeat this process until you have paid off each of your debts. By sticking to this method, you're prioritizing the debts that cost you the most, and you're steadily freeing up more money to put toward your remaining debt. So now let's break this down by looking at a real life example so that you can see just how powerful the avalanche method is in action. So I want you to imagine that you have 3 debts. You've got one credit card that has $5,000 on it and an 18% interest rate. You've got one personal loan for $3,000 that has a 10% interest rate. And then you've got a student loan at $10,000 with a 5% interest rate. Now, with the avalanche method, you're going to start by focusing on the credit card because it has the highest interest rate, while making minimum payments on your personal loan and your student loan. And then you're going to put all of your extra funds toward paying off that credit card. So let's say you put an extra $300 each month toward your credit card. By paying off that credit card first, you're cutting down on that 18% interest rate as quickly as possible. And once the credit card is gone, you'll move to the personal loan, and then finally you'll move to the student loan. That one goes last because it has the lowest interest rate. Over time, you're going to see a huge savings in your interest costs, and you're going to reach debt freedom faster than if you just chipped away at that smallest debt first. So let's talk about some of the most common questions I get asked about these debt payoff methods. So something that I'm often asked is, what if I feel unmotivated because I'm not seeing the quick wins? Okay, so this is people who are worried about utilizing the avalanche method because they think they really are dependent on the snowball method. They think their success of paying off their debt is dependent on that snowball method and celebrating those quick wins. And this is totally understandable, right? Remember, the motivation comes from knowing you're making the smartest financial choice, right? That's what our motivation should come from. So setting small milestones, such as hitting a certain balance on your high interest debt, that's a good way to give you a quick win. So the snowball method is so popular because you get to celebrate paying off a credit card quickly because you're paying off the lowest one first, but it's costing you more money overall. So with the avalanche method, we can create our own quick wins. So maybe saying something like, I want to make sure that within 3 months, I've paid off 10% of the balance, right? So I challenge you to come up with little competitions for yourself, basically, so that you still have the opportunity to celebrate little wins across the way on your journey. But remember, this is a mind over matter. You are quite literally winning when you use the avalanche method, because overall, you are spending less. If you ran the numbers of someone who had the same amount of debt as you, but they chose the snowball method, they might overall feel like they are winning, and you might feel like it's taking you longer because they're paying off credit cards sooner than you. But at the end of the journey, if you looked at what it costs them to do it versus what it costs you to do it, you're going to see beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are the winner. So I want you to just keep that in mind. You might not be able to celebrate in the small wins in the avalanche method, but you definitely are the winner of the big wins. Now, another question that I get asked a ton about paying off debt is, should I use my savings to pay down my debt? And this is a really great question. And generally, I recommend keeping an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months expenses before you start aggressively paying down your debt. Once you have that safety net, you can consider putting extra cash toward your high interest debt. But what happens is people will use their emergency savings to pay off a credit card debt. And what is our emergency savings there for? It's there for emergencies. So we wipe out that account to pay off the credit card, and then guess what? An emergency comes up. And what do? We rack up the credit card again, right? It's a vicious cycle. So I don't want you to take money out of savings to pay off your credit card unless you've already got an emergency fund fully funded. We are never going to wipe out an emergency fund in order to pay for our credit card debt, because it's just going to set us up for failure. Now, another question that I get asked a lot is, what if my high interest debt balance is huge? Okay, how do I stay committed? And for those of you who are in the unfortunate situation where you are in a large amount of debt, okay, we are giving examples of $1,000, $5,000, but there are some of you who are in a tremendous amount of debt. And I will tell you, you are not alone. We know from data that in the last couple years, the amount of credit card debt in Americans is up, I want to say it's like 30%. So first of all, you are not alone. But what I want you to do is I want you to set mini goals for yourself along the way and track your progress, right? Remind yourself that each dollar you put toward that high interest debt is a dollar you're saving in interest. So maybe you set something up where you celebrate a quick win every time you pay off $500 on that credit card. Because you might be looking at a long journey ahead of you. You might be in a situation where it's going to take a couple of years to pay off this debt. So the important thing for you is to not get discouraged and to stay on track. So setting up these small victories that you can celebrate along the way will help you to stay on track. Now, since we're talking about the importance of staying on track, I wanted to give you guys some tips on how you can quite literally make sure you stay on track in your debt payoff journey. So the first thing I want to highlight, and one of my favorite tips, is automatic payments. Setting up automatic payments for the minimum amounts and then automating an extra payment toward your high interest debt can really be a game changer for you. This is going to put your debt payoff on autopilot. This way you don't have to think about it. This way you're not in a situation where you accidentally spend the money that you wanted to use to pay off your debt because it auto withdrew right out of your bank account. And you can do that right on your credit card's website. You can set up these automatic payments to make sure that the other cards with the lower interest rates have that minimum payment going out every single month. And then your high interest one can have the minimum payment plus the extra payment that you are putting to it each and every month. Now, the next tip I have for you is to visualize your progress, okay? I want you to create a debt tracker, all right? Seeing those balances drop can be incredibly motivating, all right? You are gonna be able to celebrate each victory every time you see this. So what I love to have you do is just set up a spreadsheet or even a piece of paper, a notebook. We don't have to complicate this, okay? And I just want you to simply write down the ending balance each month. And every time you feel discouraged, I want you to go over to that notebook, that spreadsheet, whatever works for you, open it up, and I want you to look at where you started and look at where you are now, okay? I want you to have some type of visual that when it gets hard, right? When it gets tough, when you feel like you want to give up, I want you to have something that you can look at and instantly see the progress and success that you are having. Now, the final tip I want to give you is to make sure that you avoid adding any new debt. This is why I talked about the importance of not wiping out your savings in order to pay for this credit card debt, because inevitably you're going to end up in a cycle where you're paying off your credit cards, but then having to use them again. So I want you to make sure that you avoid having to take on any new debt. I want you to fully focus on the debt that you already owe and make sure that you are fixing the issues in your finances that led you to accrue that debt in the first place. Now, some of you, it is going to be a very specific issue that got the credit card debt. It could be that you moved out on your own and your credit card is all of your furniture, in which case you know that it was a very specific purchase you had to make. You're paying it off and it's not going to happen again. You don't really have any bad habits you have to break if that is your debt situation. But if you're someone that all your debt on your credit card is you going out, spending money, doing some dumb stuff, then I really want you to pay attention to your habits. The worst thing that we can do is be paying off debt in 1 month just to turn around and create more debt in the next month. Remember, the avalanche method isn't just about a quick fix, right? It's about smart, sustainable choices that will save you money and get you out of debt faster. So I want you to stick with it, and I promise you will be amazed at the results. Now, thank you so much for joining me today on Money Matters. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to tackle your debt with a smart, strategic approach. Remember, every dollar you pay toward debt now is a dollar you're keeping for yourself down the road. Now, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with family or friends who you think might need some extra encouragement on their debt-free journey. Together, we can empower each other to make financially smart choices and build a debt-free future. Until next time, keep making those savvy decisions, stay committed, and remember, financial freedom is always within reach. I'm Danae Wolf, and this is Money Matters. I'll see you on the next episode.